Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Guide Talk. We're really excited to continue our series this year with more educational content. My name is Tweevy, and joining me today as speakers are Patrick and Hannah. For those of you returning for another Guide Talk, it's nice to see you again, or sort of see you virtually. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome, and it's nice to meet you. I'm head of marketing at Guidebook, and I've been with the company for about 6 years now. So I've seen the creation and the evolution of the Guidebook Tours product, which we'll be discussing today. It's exciting to see how many people use our platform to connect with prospective students and their families. And I think it's even more exciting to see Guidebook's place in higher education, especially during this pandemic. I'll quickly turn this over to Patrick and Hannah to introduce themselves, and then we'll go over today's agendas afterwards.
Hi, I'm Patrick, and I'm the manager of our EDU team. I've been assisting colleges and universities with the implementation of Guidebook for almost 7 years. And prior to that, I spent over 5 years in enrollment management. In my previous role, I managed our college's large-scale admissions events and the day-to-day operations of our student tour guide team. Early in my time at Guidebook, I assisted the product team in the first ever launch of our virtual tours tool, and I've been partnering closely with our developers on updates and new features as we gather more feedback from programs using our tool all over the country.
And hi, everyone. My name is Hannah, and I'm a senior customer success associate. I've been with Guidebook for about 3 years now, and I help customers build great guides and work with many EDU clients on deployments as well as measuring success.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay, let's go over today's agenda. So this webinar will be broken down into technically four separate sections. In the first part, I'll go over the Guidebook Tours product and touch on why universities are finding Guidebook so valuable when it comes to helping them maintain their branding and engaging with prospective students. Second, Patrick will share a customer story and talk about how they are using Guidebook to meet quick changes necessary as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Third, we'll go into a demo of our platform so you can see how to build your own tours app, and then you'll also get a chance to see what the tour looks like as a user. And then at the very end, we'll close out this webinar with the Q&A section. If at any point you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. I did see someone write in the chat if the recording would be sent out after the session. And I know we responded, but just in case no one's looking, the recording and the slides will be shared after the presentation today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So campus tours are critical to the decision-making process. In fact, 65% of students indicate that over all other influential factors, the campus visit was the most important factor in their decision-making. And because of the pandemic, fewer students are physically visiting college campuses these days, but they're still looking for meaningful ways to learn more about colleges and universities. And similarly, institutions want to convey the campus experience and tell a differentiating story. So in response to the pandemic and the need to offer an alternative solution to our original tours product, which was in person, we introduced remote mode last year so that higher education institutions could support prospective students who visited virtually and provide them with a streamlined experience to explore campuses safely from home. And now with vaccinations being distributed and campuses slowly reopening and visitors slowly starting to come back on campus, Guidebook continues to help campuses provide a much more comprehensive tour experience for students and their families by giving them the information they need, whether they choose to visit in person, online, or a combination of both. The app gives students more control over their tour experience with navigation tools, and as an institution, you're able to put more information in the students' hands. So for example, links to web pages or videos, or even have them fill out information so that you can gather and reach out to them later. You're also able to create tailored tours to include content that tells your campus story. So let's take a look at the data and the customization that you can get out of creating a tour with Guidebook, whether your audience is intended to be virtual or on campus. On the screen here, you'll see a chart that lists a variety of tour metrics that you're able to gather. So from the number of users who start your tour to average stops to real-time engagement metrics that display how many students are moving along to the next step in the recruitment process, Guidebook's self-guided tours provide meaningful data that can be transformed into actionable insights and can be leveraged to influence enrollment marketing and student outreach. So for example, you could use these metrics to determine what the most popular hotspots are, and then use this information to get better engagement with visitors by including your most important content at these places. Or you could use the metrics to see where you're getting the least amount of engagement and then use this information to improve that spot on your tour or replace it altogether. The options are endless here, and I've only just listed 2 of them. So next, let's look at how some of the tailored tours built on our platform can include branded content that tells your campus story. You're able to create a fully branded experience with customizable images, icons, and colors. And you're able to familiarize your students with your campus by creating preset routes that stops at points of interest, like historic buildings, athletic facilities, libraries, and more. You can also let your students tell your story and add narration and imagery to each tour stop. You're also able to include links to embed videos and websites to share information and encourage prospective students to continue engaging and utilize end of tour call to action buttons to drive admissions. Guidebook's campus tours are built for in-person and remote tours, which means that after a prospective student visits campus and does a safe, socially distant tour, they're able to take this information home with them and revisit the campus from the comfort of their own home. But most importantly, the app provides students with a safe way to visit campuses and experience campus culture. Despite COVID restrictions, admissions offices everywhere are recognizing that people still want to visit their campus. And as a response to that, many universities are proactively searching for a solution like Guidebook. An app provides a safe way for people to come on campus and also gives universities an opportunity to communicate with students and families who are interested in being a part of their community. One common thing that we hear from universities is that a lot of prospective students take their own tour of campus without ever notifying the university. And as a result, a lot of information is missed and they're never able to get a hold of that potential student. The availability of a campus tour app that doesn't require in-person sign-up, interaction with anyone in person, and is readily convenient and available is a huge plus for students who simply want to stop by and get to know the campus on their own. With the app, universities are able to gather names and put their information into their CRM without the prospect having to do more than just a simple form fill. And then as a plus for the visitor, if you offer more than one type of tour, you're able to speak to more audiences. So for example, tours for those who just want a broad campus tour is one option. A tour for international students, an athletic tour for potential incoming athletes, and more. The option to self-select content makes the tour experience much more personable versus an in-person tour, which might limit the experience to whatever the tour guide gives the tour group on that day. I'll pass this over to Patrick now, who will talk about one of our case studies, and then after Patrick, we'll go into the demo.
Thanks, Tweevy. I'll spend the next few minutes walking you all through the experience of one school that utilized Guidebook to meet the quickly evolving needs of their recruiting efforts with our virtual tour. Center College, located in Danville, Kentucky, had been considering the use of mobile technology to engage prospective students for many years. But it was the onset of the global pandemic, right in the heat of recruiting season, that led them to finally set up a tool. As a small school, Center's recruiting focus was generated around high-touch engagement and a push to bring students onto campus to really feel the community. They relied on springtime admitted students programs and an open campus to encourage students to find themselves enrolling at Center. With the onslaught of the pandemic and safety regulations looming, they looked for something that could provide them with the same personal feel, but with a safe approach. Most importantly, they needed to implement something quickly. Lauren Samuelson, one of the newest members of their admissions team, recommended Guidebook's virtual tour as a way to capture that valuable on-campus experience in a simple, safe way. As many of you know, an admitted student's day is your last chance to really wow your prospective class. And Center College administrators saw the implementation of a new technology as an investment in their recruiting efforts. The virtual tour they built serves as a guide for all things Center College. Prospective and admitted students are walked through their campus by 5 different current students, offering information about academics, student experience, resources, and campus activities. Their current tour encompasses 24 stops, each with accompanying images and audio tracks. In addition to the resources provided by the college, their tour provides users with important information about the community that surrounds campus. Their small town is vital to the student experience, and it was important to them that the guide highlighted what makes their community special. Maybe the most valuable aspect of their guide is the simplicity of communication with their prospective and admitted students. Rather than just providing prospective students with one-way information, the way a website does, their tour is a two-way communication tool, allowing students to engage in the process. The center admissions team is able to receive feedback, surveys, and even link directly to their application. Students can contact their admissions team directly with questions, share more insight from their visit, and even fill out the school's inquiry card, linking directly to the admissions office EMS. This is a great way to include another student touchpoint throughout the recruitment funnel. The biggest takeaway I want to highlight from this example is the timeline they took from deciding to implement our virtual tour to ultimately launching it. It was less than 2 weeks. This may sound unattainable for your school, but most of the other programs adding a virtual tour were able to do so in a similar time frame. Our platform is designed to easily allow you to build out a beautiful tour with audio, images, and additional resources in a very short period of time. It's never too late to consider how a tour can impact your recruiting efforts, even for this year. Center College has a relatively small student population, but we have been working with universities of all sizes to build out virtual tours. From micro colleges to large land-grant institutions, we've incorporated our functionality to assist with various admissions needs. Whether you're limited in your capacity to provide an in-person tour, or you have an upcoming recruitment event and you're unsure of your ability to provide a personal campus tour, or you're interested in providing a safe way for students to tour from home, we've got examples of schools using our tour to meet all of those needs.
Thanks, Tweeby and Patrick. We'll take a few minutes now to see both what a tour looks like for a visitor in the app and how to set it up quickly and easily in our content management system. We'll start with the visitor experience. As you're crafting your tour and thinking about your intended audience, you'll want to consider how you're sharing the tour. Are you providing the link in an email to prospective students? Do you have a QR code on the admissions office door? Based on your intended audience, how and where you provide that information will vary, and you'll want to make sure they know where the tour starts if they're on campus. On the left, we're looking at a tour guide that UT Arlington uses mostly for prospective students. Upon opening the navigation menu, we see various resources that UT Arlington has decided to include, like campus resources and dining. It's also really nice, and I believe Tweeby and Patrick perhaps both mentioned this, to have a custom list of tour guide bios because it helps to put a face and name to the audio people here. You can cater this menu to suit the needs of your audience. This guide has just one tour, but building multiple tours within a guide may be useful if you want to separate guides by location. For example, an East Campus and a West Campus tour. By audience, like STEM programming, first-generation students, or athletes. By the timing of a tour, I've seen clients do a 30-minute tour and then a full 2-hour tour, or even by language, to have the same tour in Spanish, Chinese, etc. for your visitors. Let's go into the tour. On the tour homepage, the estimated walking and audio time is listed, as well as a map, information that you've added in Builder, and the list of stops. When a visitor taps Begin Tour, they will select between Yes, I'm there, and No, I'm remote, to choose to either safely walk themselves around campus or visit from the comfort of their own home. The only differences between the two experiences is that if you select I'm there, your location will be recognized as a blue triangle, and some of the buttons have slightly different wording. When a prospective student or guardian starts the tour, They'll tap play to hear the audio and have this little tip starts us off to give information about the audio. So they'll be able to play the audio as well as pause it. They can also go back if they miss something. The audio can be played through their phone by holding it up to their ear, using headphones, including Bluetooth, or using, of course, speakerphone. From this page, they can read your text description, which you can add links and video links to, as UT Austin has here at the bottom. And people can also tap on the photos to scroll through whatever photos you've added. Showing the outside and inside of buildings, as well as the scene in different seasons, is really helpful to prospective students. When they go to the next destination, if on campus, visitors will walk along the dotted path until they reach the next stop. The visitor's location will be represented by a blue triangle. When they reach the pin they are going toward, the next stop will pop up. In remote mode, the person won't see the dotted line, and the next step will automatically load. Stop to stop, it's great to have a few different tour guides speaking so that the student or visitor can envision themselves on campus through a few sets of eyes. Making the tour as realistic as possible and allowing tour guides to put their own spin on it allows for an exciting, informational, and personalized tour experience. As a builder, you've created the ideal tour of your campus. Individuals visiting on campus or remotely are also able to select from your list of stops and only visit certain places. We'll go ahead and skip to the last stop to finish the tour. When we finish the tour, there can be up to 2 action items at the end of the tour, as well as a description. The action items typically get used to gather information about prospective students or to direct people to other information in the guide. And as Tweevy mentioned, there's a metric for how often these are tapped in Builder. Let's hop into Builder now to see how we build this out on the back end. Here we have a tours guide, and we'll go into our new tours feature. We'll confirm our starting address, and then we can add stops from the upper right. So I'm just going to add a stop at Durham Central Park and then add another stop, and you'll see that we have auto path enabled so that when we add that second stop at the YMCA, a path is automatically created, and it's not just point to point. It'll go along with the Google map. You can zoom in and out, as we saw, as well as moving these white dots to change the path. So I might decide that I want them to come this way instead, and I can make those changes. To add information about each tour stop, you'll just scroll down and click into a stop to add the information. We'll add a stop title, some images that I have of Central Park in Durham. And with the photos in particular, a few things to note, particularly if someone is virtual, these are the images that they're seeing of your campus. So you can include up to 10 images, and you can drag them around and include captions. So we can decide, oh, we want this one first and move it. And again, like I mentioned, including seasonal pictures and pictures of the outside and inside of buildings can be really helpful for people to help envision themselves there. Our support article about tours has some additional pro tips as well. So I've just copied my description in, and then I also have an MP3 file, and then we'll save it. Once you do this for each of your stops, and you'll have built an audio tour for visitors and prospective students. You'll also want to make sure to fill out the information in the Basics tab, which includes the tour name, the description, and a concluding message like we have here, as well as the concluding actions. We'll move to questions now. So Connor, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks for that demo, Hannah. All right, let's start off now the Q&A portion here. We'll jump to Patrick here. So have you got any advice on how to promote our tour on campus for people who just drop by unannounced?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So generally, we would recommend having posters around campus promoting your tour guide with a QR code that would allow users or really anyone visiting to download your guide with ease. More specifically, if you have any kind of location where visitors seem to find themselves early, like a kind of check-in kiosk or a visitor center, we would recommend promoting it there as well. And thinking back on my previous experience, when we would anticipate visitors coming to our school, we had a small box outside of our admissions office with some information for individuals who had visited that we were unaware of. And so in that case, we would have just recommended putting a poster right there.
Great, cool. All right, now jumping to you, Hannah. Are units, examples, housing, unions, or recreation sports using Guidebook for facility and program tours?
Sure, thanks, Connor. So yeah, tours can be created for any use case as long as the locations are outdoors and have a Google Map recognized address, and then can be also safely visited without required supervision. So in terms of housing, we definitely have tours that go around to different dorms and people learn about the different places they can live. So for sure.
Okay. All right, Patrick. I'm not in admissions, but student involvement. Our office holds and uses our Guidebook license specifically for our Welcome Week and campus programming. Any thoughts or examples of more involvement or other office-based tours rather than admissions alone?
Absolutely, yeah. So at the onset, tours was designed to assist admissions offices mostly, but what we've found is there are actually a number of really great department uses outside of admissions. Some of the more easily understandable ones that just surface right off the top of the head. Alumni Relations has been getting a lot of use out of tours when considering how they want to provide alumni with updates of changes that are going on geographically on campus. But I can think of one really great example that a large nationally recognized institution used for their Welcome Week programming. They built in campus tours to help new incoming students who were matriculating just become more familiar not only with the campus as a whole, but with specific aspects of the geographic layout of campus. So they shared multiple tours. One tour was the campus broadly. Another tour was a tour of the residence hall locations. Another tour highlighted Greek life and their locations. And they actually ended up building in a running tour of their campus too, with just some nice, peaceful spots along the way. So you don't have to limit yourself to just thinking about a prospective student audience, but if you would find value in sharing geographic understanding of your campus with whomever your audience is, the tour can absolutely fill that need. I think we actually had two questions from that, a follow-up question there, so I hope I responded well to that in both of them.
Great, yeah, thank you for that, Patrick. And just circling back to you, do all students need to download the app to their phone to access an institution's tour, or could any institution simply host their tour on the app and students can access the tour via the app without actually having to download the app?
Yeah, so users would be required to download an app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store before downloading the tour guide within it to access the tour. A network connection is required at the time of download.
Great. And Hannah, how customizable is the app? Besides customizing the tour itself, I'm curious if it can look more branded for the institution.
Yeah, thanks for that question. We offer the option for institutions to purchase a tour guide that can either be accessed via the Guidebook app, which is the one that I demoed, But you can also purchase a branded app for your institution to fully customize the experience. And so for specific pricing, I'd recommend reaching out directly to sales@guidebook.com. But that is available.
Great. And Patrick, is there any ADA accessibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So to make sure you're serving the needs of everyone, we recommend that your description text within each of your stops is the same as the audio so that the tour is most accessible. This is really easy to copy in if you've written out your scripts for each of your stops beforehand.
Great. And Hannah, can you put 360 photos or videos in each spot?
So you can add videos to the description. Like that first stop we had up in the UT tour, you could certainly add a 360 video or a video there. But in the photo section, JPEG and PNG are accepted.
Great. All right. Patrick, is there a minimum and maximum numbers of stops for a tour?
There is no limit to the number of stops that can be added to a tour, and no limit, no minor minimum limit to that number either. What's nice is because you can evolve your tour over time, you can utilize the metrics available to you to better gauge how long your tour should be so that it's the most valuable to your audience.
Okay, great. And let's see here. Just have a few more questions coming in here. Patrick, we have a small campus, only 5 buildings, 70 acres. Would the Google Map tracking or walking functionality still work on such a small scale?
It would, and I'll tell you, there may be someone on the call who has less than 70 acres. So I don't see any issue with how Google Map tracking and walking functionality would operate at a small campus like that.
Great. That looks like that wraps up our Q&A portion, unless there's some last minute questions rolling in here. Yeah, I don't see anything. So, well, we hope you found this webinar helpful. For a more tailored demo, to suit your specific needs, please reach out to your account manager via the email below or submit a demo request on our website. We will also be sending a follow-up email with a recording of today's demo and additional resources. So keep a look out for those in the coming days.
Connor, I'll just go ahead and hop in there. I think there was
sorry.
one other question. Oh, you're fine. There was one other question. So there's no limit on the number of tours you can add into a tours guide. And like the examples that Tweevy and I shared, yeah, people use it for all different things. And yeah, like we have guides with 1 tour, and then we have other ones that have like 5 to 10. So it's totally up to you. And yeah, no additional cost for the extra tours. And again, in terms of pricing in general, we'd recommend either connecting with your current account manager or connecting to sales if you're not currently a Guidebook customer.
Okay. Thanks for catching that one, Hannah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be sending an email out with all the Q&A portion as well. If we missed any of them, so we'll be sure to answer them, and you'll be able to follow up on those responses from that additional resource we'll send after. Thanks for joining, everyone.